Hi, I'm Dr. Dan and welcome to my Dr. Dan's Original Trade Secrets, and I'm so happy to be sharing this DVD with you, this kitchen cabinet refinishing. I've had so many calls. People want to know, where do you get the dies, so on and so forth. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about in this second DVD, this DVD 2. It's how to purchase, where to go to get these dies, and also how to mix them, what you mix them into, and how to spray them. I'm going to teach you all that in this DVD. I'm also going to share with you the antiquing and distressing tools that I use that I've been using for years, and everybody loves them. I've done over 400 homes in Vail and some of the richest areas in the world using these very tools, and I'm going to show you what they are. I'm also going to show you how to buy and mix paints. Show you where to get my clear coat, the Becker Chroma Precat that I use on every job, and it just gives me a great job every time. I wouldn't recommend anything else. I'm also going to show you how to do an antique white with a glaze. A lot of people want that. An antique white is like a staple. It's a standard color. So I'm going to show you how to mix up the paint, how to paint that, how to glaze it and clear coat it. And I'm also going to do a black rub through, very similar for you, so you can see. That's another very popular finish that people like as an accent island to their kitchen. It's just something I thought you needed to know, so I'm putting them both in the tape as kind of a bonus. I'm also going to show you 3 different types of glazing technique: dry brushing, striping around the profile, and then glazing over the whole door. And you'll need to know all 3. There's a reason why you do all 3. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to apply the clear coat over everything to lock in all the colors and just make a beautiful finish, and the type of sheens we use in those clear coats and why we use them. And that's it. And I think you're going to have a loaded 2 DVD set that teaches you pretty much everything that you need to know about kitchen cabinet refinishing. And all you have to do is practice, 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 and practice makes perfect. All right, so now we're going to talk about these dies, and what these dies are that I use, that is what everybody's wanting to know, are Sherwin-Williams dies. They're called Sherwood Universal Die Stain Concentrates, and they come in brown, they come in red. This is a Bordeaux, so this is kind of a purple red. There's a yellow, there's a blue, and there's a black. Now there's actually another red, but it's really kind of orange. I don't like it. I like more of this red color. Now these are very, very concentrated. I'll just show you how concentrated one is, just so you can get an idea. Because this here is yellow. You can tell me it doesn't look like yellow, does it? But if you put that in just a little bit of lacquer thinner, which is like right here, you can see it's very fluorescent yellow. It's a really, actually kind of a bright yellow. So anyway, I just wanted to show you. So these are very, very concentrated. And to do a kitchen, depending on the size, I usually use about half of a gallon can, which, like, say I'm making a whole bunch, I'll use maybe a cup of brown, half cup of red, and a quarter cup of yellow. And that'll give me enough to do a whole kitchen, because you really got to reduce this stuff. It's like a tablespoon to a quart. That's all you need, and it'll fill up a cup gun, and you can do a lot of coatings. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to tone this sample here. I'm going to mix a little bit of colorant, and I taped the corner off, as you can see. And basically what I did was, you can see it's this color here, and basically I just taped over the raw wood. So you can see the difference when I tone this. Then I'll pull the tape off and you can see the difference of how this looks. So what I'll do is I'll get ready to tone it. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to mix these dyes in. Now you're going to have to play with them to get the color people want, because it's just not standard out of the bucket here. This brown's going to give a certain brown, but it might be a yellowish brown, or it might be a reddish brown. So all of this dye stain mixes with lacquer thinner, and this is Sherwin-Williams lacquer thinner. And I'm just going to mix a little bit for you. So when you go to Sherwin-Williams, it's best to buy it in the 5-gallon. You get it a lot cheaper. And but it's just Sherwin-Williams thinner, really good thinner. Don't use a cleaning thinner. Be sure to use good, their regular lacquer thinner when you go to buy it. So what we'll do is we'll put just a little bit of brown in here. Just a little bit. You can see, just a drop. You saw I didn't put very much in there. And now we'll put just a touch of yellow in there. Same thing, just a little drop. Whoops, that's more than I wanted. And I'm just going to literally put a drop of red in here. That's it. And then we'll stir this around. I think I'll put just a little more brown because I didn't put much brown in there. Just a little bit. Just to get a little bit in there. Okay, there we go. And now we'll transfer this into our cup gun, like so. It's always good to put your lids back on so you don't spill anything. And by the way, these are about $70 a quart, but they will do a lot of kitchens. They'll do a lot of kitchens. So just plan on spending $70, and I would say that you need them all. And then take your cup gun, make sure everything's spraying good. And then we'll spray just a little bit, see how it comes out. Okay, so I don't know if you can see how we've changed that. But it's already changed quite a bit. You may not notice it, but I just want to show you. We'll pull this little bit of tape, and you can see the difference already. So what we'll do, if you notice, this is a little bit golden. It has kind of a yellow tone. And somebody might want just a little bit more cherry. What we'll do is we'll tape this back up, this corner, and we're going to add just a little bit of red to our formulation. Just a little bit of red. Just a tiny bit. Stir that up. And maybe just a tiny bit of brown, just to darken it up a little bit. Okay, we'll put the lid back on. Now I'm just showing you this so you can see how easily it is to change the color. And you may have to change the color. The customer might not want this yellow color. They say, well, I want a cherry brown. I want this color here, which is a red tone, which would be more Bordeaux. They could want any of 100 colors. So you got to play with it until you get it right. So I'll show you a little bit more here. We'll do a little more color. You can probably see the red. Now, did you notice? You can still see the wood real clear. Now I'm spraying this. I just want to show you something here real quick. I'm spraying this and it's already dry. I'm spraying it dry. So when I put this on there, I'm not spraying a wet coat. It's like dry. Okay, So we'll leave that for there right now. So now we've got what we call a nice cherry look. Pulling this little bit of tape off so I can show you the difference. But that's that's what we just did. And we've just taken it from here to here with just a few passes of toner. And you can see it's as clear as can be. And what we'll do is, once we get it to that stage, we shoot a clear coat on it. And it's real nice equipment. Same thing, spray your edges. Isn't that beautiful? Just like silk. Can you see it real good? See that? Just as transparent as could be. So that's how you work these dyes. Now, these dyes, once again, are all different colors. You can make this brown as brown can be. You can make it black as black can be. You can make it red as red can be. And this is kind of a cherry tone. And so I'm going to leave it here because I'm going to show you a couple other things. I'm going to show you some glazing techniques, and I'm also going to show you some distressing techniques. All right? Thank you. All right, so I just want to show you something here. So we shot this one up, and you can see what we've done. We went from here to here. Also, you may have to, somebody might want a very deep red color. And so you've got to be able to mix some red with a little bit of brown. This is some yellow with a little bit of red, which is a little different than here. And it's a little bit lighter. You might have to go here, which is a brown, a dark brown. You can see the difference. So you may have to use some brown with just a touch of red with no yellow. You've got to be able to pretty much mix whatever it is they tell you. If you really want to make some good money and really be in this, there's these Van Dyke browns. There's, you know, red with a little white in it. I mean, look at these different colors. But they're easy. They're very easy. All you got to do is play with these dyes a little bit. It's just a little brown with a little red, or a little yellow with a little red, or a little black with and you can get these colors. You can get all of them. You might have to do blue. This is blue with a little white. This is black with a touch of yellow. So as you can see, there's quite a variety of colors and things people want, and you need to know how to. You need to play with these dyes for a little bit, because the designers and people with their granite, they got to have it match. It can't be like an oddball. You can't be like way off. It's got to match their granite, or, you know, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to show you that. And now I'm going to show you how to distress this and antique it. All right, so now I'm going to show you a few of our distressing tools. This is my wormhole maker. It looks pretty evil, but basically it's just a piece of 2x4 with some screws screwed in the back of it, and it makes a lot of wormholes real quick. And sometimes people want heavy wormholes, so you can put a lot in real quick. This is an awl, and it not only puts wormholes, but it puts cracks. And I'll demonstrate how to do all this stuff. We usually put about 3 cracks per door if we're going to do cracks. And then wormholes are either light, medium, or heavy. And then we have a chisel, and it's what we call for hewning. It's for taking gouges out of the side. It actually takes real gouges of wood out of here. And it's for more of a rustic look. So that's another thing that we'll do there. And then this, of course, is my chain. And I've added these different things on it, these little increments, because you don't want to just have a chain, because it leaves all the same marks. So when you take this chain and you twirl it around, you get all kinds of marks. And you just drop it on your piece of wood, and it puts some dents in it, and really makes it look kind of nice. So some people want chain, some people don't want wormholes, some people want wormholes, some people want hewning, some want cracks, some don't want cracks. So basically, when you go to someone's house, you ask them, what would you like? You show them a sample with some cracks, with some wormholes. So I'll demonstrate here just how to put a few wormholes in here with my awl. And basically, you just hit it fairly hard, like so. I put a few in. Here's my big one. And a lot of times we'll really do a corner so it looks like the worms really ate it up. I don't know if you could see that in the light. Hit it a few places. I usually kind of balance them out. So there's a few here, a few there. Then I just come back with my awl and like that. And I'm hitting this pretty hard because this is oak. If this was pine, you wouldn't have to hit it that hard. It's real soft, but when it's oak, you really, if you want to get a little hole in there, you've got to do that. Now, I'm going to put a crack in it. Now here's how you do a crack. You start at the joint right here, at the seam, and you push kind of hard, and then you come up light. So you set your awl in, and then you push kind of hard, and then you come up light. And then you push hard, and then you come up light. You can see it. It almost looks natural. Let me just sand that a little bit. You can see. And we usually put about 3 of these per door, and we put one in the panel. Same thing. You got to have it come to that point. That's what makes it look like a crack. And then maybe one more up here. And then just be careful here. And then do some short ones. They don't all have to be long. You want short ones, longer ones. And then again, just lightly sand it. Lightly sand your wormholes a little bit. I always like to sand the distressing just a little bit. And get that down. And then last but not least is this hewning with this chisel. We'll just take a little chunk out. See how that just takes a chunk out like that? Some people like that on a rusty. They like their corners maybe taken off like that. Maybe sometimes they want a little bit in here like that. Maybe a little bit down through here. You pretty much put them wherever you want. So me, I usually stagger them. I usually put one here, you know, maybe a little chiseling over here. You don't want them too, you know, together. Maybe one inside, one outside. Maybe one down the middle here. Okay. So once you get that, again, you lightly sand these. You soften them up just a little bit. You do that. So there you got 3 different types of distressing. You got wormholes, you've got cracks, and you've got hewning. Okay? So now you're ready for glaze. And so what we're going to do on this, since we've got distressing over everything, I'm going to glaze over the whole thing. I'm going to glaze over everything so we can get all these holes and the cracks and all of this stuff. So I'll take my rag, throw on my glove. And I use my Van Dyke Brown. And Van Dyke Brown glaze, you can pretty much get anywhere at any paint supply store. And you see I'm putting it on fairly heavy. You want to be able to get it in all these cracks, around all these profiles. You know, you want to get it in there real good. If they're still white, you got to put it on a little wetter. You got to really kind of soak it. And this is if it's got distressing, okay? Over the whole thing. You want to do it like that, okay? And you come back like so. Okay, now I don't see any white spots. Now if you did, if you're having a little bit of a hard time, you can use your brush, and you can just do this, and you can get it in the corners really, really good if you're not able to get it in there real good, okay? And then, the next thing you do is you wipe it off. You wipe all of it off, and you just come across it like so. You see how I'm just kind of cleaning it all off? And you get all that glaze off there. Okay. So we just keep rubbing until we get it all off, okay? And then when we got most of it off, what we may want to do is we may want to add a little bit. We may want to add some to this profile to make it look a little bit darker. So we may just take our 1-inch brush, go around the profile like that, okay? Be sure to get it real dark, real nice. Go around the corner, like I'm doing right there. Just get it down in here really good. And then, instead of wiping the whole thing, we'll get it off the surface, of course, here. But we'll double our rag over, and we'll put our finger in like this, and we'll actually leave most of it this time. Just like so. And keep changing spots on the rag. Again, take it off the flat surfaces, leave it down in the crevice, and then just go around like that. And I usually round these corners just a little bit. And you're not trying to get it all out of there. That's why you use your finger. You're just trying to leave it down in there, down in that crack. So you have a pretty tight pull on your finger. And you clean it up pretty good like so. Okay, and then I do the same for the outside. I come back and I do the same thing, because usually you wipe most of it off. And it's the same process. It's a doubled over rag, and I put it between. You see how I left it in there real nice? Get it off the surface, turn it around. Okay, go around here, and the same with here. And then just get off any excess. All right, and then depending on the glaze, will depend on how long you need to let it dry. And you'll want to ask the person where you got the glaze. Some glazes are about 4 hours. Some glazes are an hour if they're a real fast dry solvent. But I'd recommend waiting a while when you're putting it over the finish like that. Usually at least 4 hours. Sometimes they recommend leaving them overnight and letting it dry really good. All right, so you see how we got that? Here's the glaze again. And you can see in the corners here, it's really nice and dark and bold, and it stands out. It shows like picture framed. And then here is the same thing. We've got a nice dark line, a really nice strong line around here, and here, and here. And it doesn't look like a Sharpie. It doesn't look like a pencil line. You can actually wipe it out a little bit more in some areas and a little thinner, and leave it a little fatter in others. On these hewning areas, where we took the chisel, you may want to add a little bit, maybe a little bit back, just to darken those up. Some people really like those to stand out. And let's see if that's all of them. I think that's about it. And then there's one right there. And again, I'll wipe off kind of around them with that double, and then I'll leave it in the hewn itself. And that really looks nice. All right, and there's your wormholes and cracks and distressing. And then we'll spray it in just a few hours, and we'll show you what that looks like. All right, now here we are 4 hours later. As you can see, the glaze is dry for the most part. There's no shininess to it. Usually when glaze is dry, it looks dull, it looks gray. So I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and do it a little bit sooner just so I can show you the final effect. But now we're ready to put the final coat on it. And with the same air-assisted airless, we'll give it a coat around the side. And a coat over the top. And there is your finished product. As you can see, the Van Dyke brown glaze. Does it look pretty nice? Heavy glaze around the profile, wormholes, distressing. And like I say, that distressing can vary. Some people don't like hewning, other people don't like wormholes, some people love wormholes. It's all over the place, so just be ready to do whatever the customer asks. But there you can see from here, a light toner, some cracks. Now if I was going to do this on the very beginning, okay, I'll just tell you, I did it kind of reverse of how I'd normally do it. If I was actually going to do a kitchen, I would first do all my distressing after I cleaned it, and I would first do my distressing, wormholes, cracks, and then I would sand it, blow it all out, and then I would clear coat it, and then I would start toning. It would even come out a little bit better. But that's the effect right there. And you can see it looks really nice. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful job. Now this one here, this person wanted a rub through. They actually wanted it stained and sealed and everything, and then they wanted us to sand through with the sander and burn through the finish on these corners. And you see how they're rounded? They're a little bit rounded. We do that with our sander. We just sort of round it like that. With the 220 grit, same thing here. We round it and we actually burn right through the finish, and then we come back with a glaze on top of here, and you got a rub through. That's what they call a rub through. But you'll have varying people liking varying things. Some people will like a rub through, other people will want cracks and wormholes. When you can do these finishes, you can really make a lot of money, and people just fall in love with you. So I just wanted to show you that. And next I wanted to show you my black rub through. All right, now I want to show you, this is one of the bonus ones I promise you, and this is the black rub through. I'm going to show you how to do a black rub through. And basically this is just the same process. Instead of clear, you go down to the paint store and you tell them you want black lacquer, black pre-catalyzed lacquer. And you got to look in your area to find out who handles that. It's usually an industrial coating at Sherwin-Williams. Usually the standard stores are real basic. But in most cities, they have an industrial coating where they sell like furniture grade products. So anyway, it's just the same process. Instead of spraying clear, you spray black and you completely cover it. And once it's covered, you've got to burn through this edge. Now this is a very popular finish, and there's several ways I want to show you how to do this. One way is you can take this sander and you can burn through here. You actually want to burn through here, and you want to round it slightly, not a real lot, and then burn it through here, and then on the center panel. All these edges you want to burn through. That's called a rub through. And I'll show you briefly here with this just how to sand this corner. It doesn't take much, but you got to be careful. You don't want to hit this other part, because then it gets real nasty. You want to keep it right on that high point. So let me show you. That's it right there. You can see how it's rubbed through. Let me just wipe this off. See how I just rubbed through there? Now here's the way that I do it. A lot of times I play it safe. Is you take a razor blade or a cabinet scraper and you just put it on here and you just go like this. Okay? And you just go around all the corners. And you can actually control it a little bit better. And if you do hit this, you just take a little black paint and touch it up. Now it's the same in here. Just take your time when you do these. You know, you figure you only got like 20 some doors in a kitchen, so just take your time and get a nice outline around there, like I'm doing here. See how quick this is? It's really quick. And get yourself a box of razor blades, or like I say, go to Home Depot and ask for a cabinet scraper. And same thing, just a little light pressure. Now you can go as wide as you want. If you want to go wider, just go more times, and you can make that line a little fatter. Okay, you can go like that if you want. Same thing here. Okay, see how easy that comes off? Comes right off. Just take your time, and then you won't mess it up. You can't really mess up a rub through, because you can always touch it back up. Okay, now we'll just dust it off. Now there's a black rub through. Now normally what I do, because I'm very careful with the sander, is I round these edges with the sander. Watch how I do this. Now I just went like that. So that's one way of doing it. So anyway, we want to get a piece of sandpaper, 220, whether we're using this here, the 220 that we had, or the orbital. And what you want to do is just come over to this corner, and you just sand it like this, and then just kind of go in a circular motion. Just like that. And it does the same thing. And I always go over these just to make them a little fatter, so they stand out just a little bit more. So you can go around like that. Make them just a little fatter. Same thing here. Especially in here, you got to be careful with the sander. But you really want that to kind of jump out, that rub through. Keep changing your paper around. Don't keep using the same spot, because it'll clog up on you. But just kind of rub that, make it a little fatter, a little more defined. If you've got an area in the corner that's not quite rubbed, just take your blade and kind of come back. And then just rub it just a little bit fatter. Just like that. And if it's not still fat enough, you could take this razor and just go a little bit fatter. And then again, once again, same thing on the inside. And that's it. Okay? Now I want to show you what you do after this step. Now usually people, as you see, we haven't damaged anything else. We just did the rub through around that profile. And usually people will say, I want this. Now you can leave it like this. There's a little spot here. Didn't get rubbed through. But most people say, I want this to match my kitchen table. I want it to match this. So what we do from there is we mix up a little dye. And we use our little cheap dollar brushes, chip brushes, and we dip it in our dye, dry it out pretty good, and then we go around this. Now watch how it changes the color. See how nice? Watch. Just leave it on there, it'll soak in. And we're actually darkening that up a little bit and making it a little richer. Dip it in. Don't put it on soaking wet so it runs on your black. You just want it to soak in to the part we just sanded. Okay? And you just go around until you get all the white, just like that. Same with here. Dry it out if it's too wet. And it'll soak in. Now the more times you go over it, the darker it'll get. So if I wanted to go even darker, I could. So be sure to get these rounded areas real good. Go same thing around the center. See how nice that bites in? Just like that. And make sure there's no white showing. Get all that white, any little bit that's, okay? Get that little bit, that, and that little corner there. And that's it. Now the good thing is that I use dyes. So they dry instantly. It's already dry. And it's ready for a clear coat. So now it's the same process. I just come on it like this, same thing. I spray the edges. And that is your black rub through. Isn't that beautiful? That is a very popular finish. That would go really nice with a kitchen. That was that on the outside with an accent island. See the red tones in here? And they pick up with that. Let me see if I can hold this up a little better. But that would just be dynamite. So anyway, that's a black rub through. And then the last finish that I want to show you is the cream with glaze. All right? All right, so we just finished our black rub through, and you see exactly how we did that. That was one of our bonuses. And right now I'm going to show you how to do an antique white. And this is just an old white door with some Van Dyke glaze around it, which is one of the ways I show you how to glaze, where you glaze just in the profile. There's no glaze on here. This particular designer wanted a very rough. She didn't want a real uniform glaze around here. And again, you get to that thing when you're working with designers and people, they want real funky stuff. This lady just said, break this line up, and you know, you can kind of see it. It doesn't look uniform, but that was actually somebody's house that we did. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take this white, because it's got a white background, and I'm going to paint it white with white lacquer with my gravity feed here. And we're going to go through the same process with the white. We're going to have to scuff it lightly, and then we're going to put a couple coats of paint on it, and then we're going to put the glaze. And I want to show you how to do an antique white with glaze. All right, so we'll just take this sample, and once again, we sand it with a 220 grit. As you can see, it's that really nice cabinet paper, 220, that you get at Home Depot. It's yellow, and you want to make sure you scuff it. Get the sheen off there. Same with here. You can do this with this, or you can do it by machine. I'd recommend, if you have a lot of them, to do them by machine. But just for the sake of time, we'll do this here. And then, once again, let's see where my red Scotch-Brite is. You do the profiles. Again, this is like a 220 grit, the red Scotch-Brite. You get that at Sherwin-Williams. And the same thing, you just make sure to take that sheen off. You can probably see. Same here. And the same here. I like to get it really good, because if you get it real good, you won't have any adhesion problems. Same thing around here. The same thing here. And if you want, you could go with the face a little more if you'd like, or the edges, doesn't matter. Just make sure it's fairly dull. All right, now we're ready to paint. So again, I'm going to use my gravity feed, and you could use whatever you wanted. This is a gravity feed. The actual fluid just kind of weighs down on the gun, and it comes out that way. This is a siphon flow. The air comes across here and then picks it up through this siphon down below, like so. Now, I recommend, if you have a lot of doors, use the big gun. Use the air assist airless, which is right here, and just fill that bucket with 2 or 3 gallons of paint, and then just spray them just like production. You know, a whole bunch of them at a time. And but for right now, we're just going to use the gravity feed. Blow it off. Spray the edges, like so. And then a coat over the face. Now, as you can see, that's pretty good paint, because that's one coat over the top and it covered all that black. Usually it takes 2 coats of paint, but I make my own paint. But normally you just get the white paint at Sherwin-Williams, or you can even use primer. Primer covers real good, and you just have them tinted a little bit to make it antique white. So that's white. You can see how nicely that laid down and how nicely that's covered. And now I'm going to show you how to put the glaze on next. We have a real thin down glaze, oil-based glaze, because oil won't bite into this. And I'm not one of those persons that likes to just dip my rag in and wipe it all over, and there's a much better way of doing it, and this is the way I do it. I take this brush here and I dip it in about halfway. As you can see, it's pretty wet, but I dry it out. I take it in a rag and I squeeze it like that. And then I come over to my sample and I put some nice lines in it like this. You could probably see them in there a little bit. Just really nice ones. I'll make it a little bit wetter so you can see a little more. I won't quite dry it out so much. But you can kind of see, I'm going to put some lines across here. And I try to go as straight as I can, like so. And I stop at the joint there, right here, the seam, and the same thing here. Put some lines in there, okay? And the same way here. Kind of see the lines. I know what you're thinking. That doesn't look very pretty. Now we're going to do the same thing here on the middle flat surface, and I'm going to do this laying down. But basically, it's nice and straight. Don't let your arm do this where you're coming down like this. You want to go nice and straight when you're doing this kind of antiquing. And you can go either one way or you can pull it back this way. All right, I'll add just a little bit more, just on the side here, and a little bit more here. All right, so that's what I got. So I know what you're thinking, that doesn't look very pretty, but I'm going to show you how to make this absolutely beautiful. So you see I got the streaks started right here at the line, and I cut it in here. You don't want to have them overlap where it looks sloppy, where these are coming out over here and this is crisscrossing. You want it to actually stop right there and right here, same as up here. and it makes for a nice picture. We've got the glaze on there, and as I've said, it's probably doesn't look that pretty to you right now. You can see the streaks, and they're kind of loud, and they kind of jump out at you, but I'm going to show you how to, a trade secret, one of Dr. Dan's trade secrets here, and how to make this absolutely beautiful. And how we're going to make it beautiful is this right here. This is that red Scotch-Brite, that same sanding Scotch-Brite. It's 220. And sometimes if you have an older piece, it actually works a little better than a newer piece. But what we're going to do is just rub over these, and we're going to soften them up. Like, see how strong that is? We're going to just soften all these up. I'm just rubbing really light. Okay? And then we're going to come down here the same way. Just kind of soften that up. Same here. See how they're getting lighter? Same here. All four corners. And the same with the center panel. Nice and straight though. You don't want to get same down in here. Same over here. Just kind of softening them up. Now don't worry if you've taken too much off, or it doesn't matter, because I'll show you why. Dust it off a little bit. You can always just add a little bit back. Again, dry it really good. And then you can come back if you feel like you took a little too much off, and you can just add real light this time. I don't know if you can see that. Same with here. Same with here. Same with here. Okay, and you got that there. Now, just kind of look it over, make sure your seams are nice and straight so you don't have any overlapping, like so. Okay. And now, as with all glazes, we're ready for the top coat. So let me just sort of dust this off a little bit. Hit this just a hair. Just clean this edge just a little bit more. All right, now you're ready for a top coat, and with all glazes, you always want a top coat. You got to top coat over them. You got to kind of seal them in. So this is ready. So I use my big gun on this. Blow it off. Same thing, spray the edges. And there you have an antique white with a glaze. Isn't that beautiful? You can see how that could go with the black. See the black with the rub through and the antique white. This is just a little bit wet. So you can see how beautiful those go together. You can also see how a red tone, you can see why these are people's favorite colors. Antique white, black with a rub through. Let me just set this here and just show you how these colors go. Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, let me wipe this one off, it's got a little on it. Just black, you can go red with that. You can do a third color here. Anyway, that is a white rub through. And that will dry down to a matte finish. I've got a 20-degree sheen in here, so that'll dry down to pretty much a matte finish. And everybody loves these, so if you can figure out, if you think you've learned how to do that, just practice a little bit, put your glaze on there, soften it up. There's some glaze additives that you can get too. It's called glazing compound when you go to the paint store and just say, do you have a glaze, clear base glaze base? And it makes it even better. It makes it even flow out even better. So anyway, like I said, this was an oil-based glaze, and that's what you go over lacquer with because it doesn't bite in. And anyway, that's it for the antique white, and I hope you enjoyed that. And those are your couple of bonuses. And like I said, I'm available if you have any more questions or want to know anything about any other finishes. You got a finish here. There's a crackle lacquer. And one day I'll show you how to do all this crackle and that sort of thing. You may want to learn how to do some tricks like this to make wood look like leather. And that's just another effect some people like. And if you can do it, you can make a lot of money. All right, I just wanted to talk to you about one further thing. It's something that I've experienced in this business. I've been in this business for 32 years, wood finishing, and I've been in the kitchen cabinet refinishing business now for about 8 years. And one thing I've stumbled across over and over and over is wax. Different types of waxes, polishes. People use all sorts of things on their cabinets. They use Old English. Some people use pledge. Some people use homemade waxes and polishes. You never know. And sometimes the mineral spirits don't get it off, or even the lacquer thinner. So you need to do that wash coat like I was telling you about. But sometimes you still get a wax reaction, and the wax comes up, and you've got to work it. You've got to spray fast coats of clear over the top. You might even have to put air on it while you're shooting your clear. You might have to just take your clear and just dry coat it like this, and then put some air on it and dry it. Wax will fight you a little bit. You don't always get it. It's not on everything. But you will have it. So I just want to let you know, I've been doing it a long time, and you will see it. Don't panic. Sometimes you can even spray a wet coat of lacquer over the wax and then wash it back off with lacquer thinner. And sometimes the coating will actually bite into the wax and pull it right out of the finish. So there's a couple different ways, but the main thing you want to do before you work on a kitchen is be sure to use those products that I told you about. That water-based cleaner that cleans the oil, the mineral spirits, and even after sanding, maybe sometimes even lacquer thinner if it doesn't bite in and melt it. One product that I want to recommend is a product that I use on almost all my kitchens, and it's called Becker Acroma. It's a pre-catalyzed lacquer, and it's a European brand. It comes in 25 sheen, it comes in 15 sheen. This is about a satin, and then 15 is like a lower sheen, like a dull, maybe just a little bit above it. And I don't recommend anything else. It's very hard for me to recommend other coatings, but this is a self-sealing lacquer. This means this lacquer doesn't require a sanding sealer. Some lacquer requires a sanding sealer. There's all kinds of lacquers, but I stay away from the catalyzed conversion coatings because they build too quick, and you're shooting over the top of clear coat anyway. So you don't want to put a ton of mils on top of stuff that's already got clear on it. So this is a good coating right here. This Becker Acroma, I've never had a problem with it. And you need to find out who supplies it. And this is what I would use. It's a self-seal, pre-catalyzed lacquer, and I wouldn't warranty anything else. And you just got to be so careful with these coatings that you're not just piling it on. That's why I use this air-assisted airless as opposed to an airless. An airless just dumps the finish on, and you can get real thick, and then you get into cracking the coating and all sorts of things. And so if you have an airless and you're putting on conversion coating, you're putting on a lot of mils, and there's a possibility of the finish actually cracking once it dries. So I recommend Becker Chroma. That's all I use. This comes in ultra high white. It comes in primer. It comes in white, and you can have it tinted. Some paint stores will just tint it for you. They'll put a little yellow or a little brown or burnt umber, and you can make your antique white out of it. So that's the clear that I use. And I just want to tell you that, you know, I've been doing this 32 years, and I just want to let you know that this is going to take some practice. This isn't something you just come up and do and it's perfect the first time. There's no way. That's like any trade. It takes a while to get in our heads and get down in it. And this is also for the professional. You've got to be able to spray. In order to do what I'm doing here on any of this, you've got to be able to spray the coatings. You've got to be able to run a sprayer. You've got to be able to use a cup gun like this for toning and shading. And if you can use these, then this video is for you, because it'll enhance what you already know, and it can make you the professional that you already are. Very few people today use dyes. Very few people know how to spray dyes, and they're very simple. Like we saw, a tablespoon of dye and a quart of thinner, and you could spray a whole bunch of stuff with that. So a lot of people don't do that, but it's absolutely the best way. It makes wood look like furniture. You can take oak, and you can see you can just make it beautiful, and you can do so many things with it. And these coatings that I'm talking about actually bond to the kitchen coatings. They're not like an enhance or restore. These are actually lacquer-based products with lacquer thinner, and the toner's lacquer thinner with dye stain, and then the pigments are just oil-based glazes. So if you follow these procedures, there's a good chance you're going to have really good success and really do some fine work. But again, take the time to practice. I'm not guaranteeing that all your results are going to look like this here, be absolutely perfect the first time. It takes a little while to learn how to round this corner with your machine like we did just a few minutes ago, and sand this without touching here. And if you did touch this here, you just dab it with a black paint. But to get finishes this high end and this high quality, it just takes a little practice. So you always want to practice before you start in somebody's kitchen. But anyway, I just want to thank you for choosing these DVDs. I know they're going to change your life, and like I said, don't feel like you're a stranger. I'm here for you. I'm available by phone. I can do a DVD for you. I can help you out of a bind. You can send me an email of pictures of things that maybe you're having some problems with, and I can call you right back. There's so many ways we can work together. So once you start down this road with the kitchen refinishing, which is a very lucrative field and you can make a lot of money, I'm going to stick with you till the end, until you perfect it. All right? So anyway, I just want to thank you, and that's it for Dr. Dan and Dr. Dan's Trade Secrets, and look forward to talking to you here in the near future. Thank you very much.